got an iPhone here. This is a iPhone 5S. I've taken the screen off of it. And it's come with a note that says that it has this classic iPhone 5S blue screen of death problem. And what happens in that problem is if you've accidentally screwed in one of the longer LCD shield screws into the short screw bracket, either on the right side most typically, sometimes also on the left side, then you can tear traces that are running underneath the screw bracket, and that'll cause this sort of reboot problem where you'll see an Apple logo and then the screen will just show blue and then it'll cut off. And this phone, when I tested it, because this is the world's worst 5S BSOD repair, the note said that it was doing the blue screen when they sent it, but now it's just booting to recovery mode. So that means more typically 5S blue screen of death, when you solve it, the data is still there and the phone will just boot right back up. But in this one, because it's booting in recovery mode now, it's going to tell us that it's going to have to be restored anyway. So we'll try to solve it, see if we can take a look at these traces. Now, not all 5S blue screen of death is due to the long screw problem. And here in my extremely low rent setup, we've graduated from the iPhone 5, and now we're using my camera, my Canon Rebel that I took on the ski slopes today. And we've hooked it up with one of my finds from Radio Shack. I got an awesome deal at Radio Shack, and I got, like, 2 huge trash bags full of whatever they had for $20 plus tax, and this cool cable was in there that lets me hook this camera up to the monitor. Okay, this is the screw bracket that we're talking about. And if we look down in that screw bracket, we're not really looking for copper. We're looking for just any kind of irregularity in the bottom of that bracket. And in this one, you can see that it's not an even black. There's like a gray screw shape semicircle there. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll know if it's perfectly smooth. This one's not perfectly smooth, so that tells us that this has a good likelihood of being the long screw damage problem. So we'll go ahead and desolder that bracket. First time I did this, I thought that it was a little bit scary, but it's pretty straightforward. It comes right off. So the bracket itself is just sitting on a solder pad like any other component. So I'm applying some heat from my, well, not my hot tweezers because I had it on the single iron, but now I'm going to be applying heat from the hot tweezers. All right, it comes right up. All right, now let's put some alcohol in there and clean that up a little bit. All right, so you can see that there's definitely screw damage. Hopefully you can see that. There's an impression there from the screw. That's what screw damage looks like. You don't have to actually see copper. You don't have to see a tear. All right, so now we want to expose the damaged traces. And, everybody sort of has their favorite way of scratching to expose these traces. I think they come off really well if you add a little bit of heat. This is just a dental pick that I'm using that I just got the other day. It's really easy to mess this up, though. It's easy to just sort of get in there and start making it way worse. So the key is to just expose the little bit that you need to see what's actually broken in there. This is a real challenge with only one eye. That really makes a huge difference. Plus I had to turn out all the lights that I normally have on here so you could see anything at all. So you can start to see some of the traces. Alright, I want to get it off back up above the damage. I think I might be left-eyed, in addition to being left-handed. So the way that the microscope cameras work is they steal light from one of your oculars, from the left ocular, and send it to the camera instead. So you lose your stereo vision. And it's really tough. And it makes me think that that I favor my left eye. I'm blind! A lot of times we end up having to take the board out, but not always. Just depends on how severe it is. Okay, let's put some alcohol, which kind of like reveals what you have. Alright, so we can see it, definitely one trace is torn. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 traces are torn. Alright, so hopefully you can see that here in the curve of the screw damage. This trace here should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it looks like this one is intact and this one is intact. And then there's one over here that's unaffected. Ah. Okay, so I am going to I'm going to try to fix this by using a little bit of thin wire that comes inside, that I harvest from inside a vibrator motor from an iPhone 4, and I'm going to use both of my eyes and a micro pencil to try and get some micro jumpers to connect across that gap. And you really want to kind of keep it as small as you can and not expose a whole bunch of this stuff, because you can get into trouble whenever you sort of get one jumper in connected and then you try to do the next one. The first one will float. These things are smaller than the things are smaller than the width of a human hair, so they're really close together, and it's really difficult to put heat on there and not have everything just float around. So I need both my eyes to do that. So I'm going to put you guys on pause and come back. Okay, so let's kind of check in with you guys again. So I've kind of prepped the area a little bit, so it looks a little bit different. So you have to kind of make a plan on these. So this one on the edge, I left some copper here and I cleared out all of this middle part. This one I kind of left intact. This one I straightened out from so that it's not really touching. I'm probably not going to be happy with that one, and I'll have to sort of take out this bottom piece as well. But I want to be able to sort of make a connection point, you know, down at the bottom, up at the top, and then to have the next one connect a shorter one so that I'm not trying to put heat in two adjacent places. So I may have to extend this up here a little bit in order to have just a different spot for the heat that doesn't bother the first one. And then this third one will end up being more similar to the first one. And then this one will be more similar to the second one. And this one I'm hopefully going to be able to leave alone, but we'll see. A lot of times once you just start touching these tiny traces, then they'll start to, they're just so flat. They've been mashed, and they're very, very friable, and they're very, they're very easy to just sort of, you know, kind of disrupt. Yeah, that one's going to have to get a jumper as well. All right. I'm not sure whether or not I can try to do one for you to see, but maybe we can give it a little bit of a try. All right, so this is my coil of iPhone 4 vibrator wire. So I'm just going to try to find a loose end. There's one. Alright, so I've harvested some wire. There it is. Let's put a piece of human hair next to it so that you guys can appreciate how fine this is. Hopefully it's not a gray one. Same. Which one's smaller? To me, it looks like they're about exactly the same. Maybe the copper is a little bit smaller. I don't know. So that's tiny. All right, let's see if we can make a jumper then. So this is really just an exercise in patience and having a good microscope. That's key. I love this microscope. It's a Amscope something something, who knows. I posted all over the place, so it should be pretty easy to look up. I think that's one of the big differences between guys and girls. Guys know the names of their equipment. They can quote you model numbers and, did you get the 400Z? I don't know. I got the one that was $400. Okay. I would have gotten the one that was more colorful if that had been an option, but I don't really care about acronyms. Okay. Definitely put on some tacky flux. Oh, this is tough with one eye. That's going to be too hard with one eye. Alright, we'll give it a try. Okay, so I'm using the Hakko 2032, which I can read off of the side of the pencil, so I like that. I don't have to remember the number. I actually don't really like this micro pencil. It just doesn't seem to get super hot. But for this particular application, it's pretty good. So over here where you can't see me working, I'm tinning the tip so that it will have some hint of solder on there. I'm going to switch to the hot tweezers, my best friends. Because they just have enough heat to give you that little spot of heat that you need. Right there. That's where I want it to go. Not there. Ah. Right now I'm trying to just get a little bit of a kind of tin on these traces. Ah. That definitely makes it more visible for you guys. I lost my piece of hair size wire. It's probably silly to try to even make it so that you guys can see. So we'll just keep this up for a little bit longer and then I'll take back my eye. So you can't really see that very well with the camera itself in the way. But this is one. And I need to do 2, 3, 4, 5 more. That's going to be tough. And almost always, once you get going, the first one, oh, it's so much better to have 2 eyes. 2 eyes is the bomb. Binocular vision, go evolution. Show me the image. Alright, I've been working on this for 46 minutes and I've still placed 1. This thing's flown off 100 times. This one was always intact. And there's still a ton of work to do. This one I'm trying to work on now, but it's just too close to this. So I'm going to need to extend, you know, down and up, cut away some of the screw bracket in order to get away from this one, because it just floats every time. I can get one side or the other, but it'll just pick them both, stick them together like, you know, 2 hairs in a brush. And then I still have to do, you know, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So it's a really tedious repair, and it's probably not worth it. You know, it's you know, 3:30 in the morning. You know, this is really not something that is smart to do. So, you know, when you kind of can work on it for a while, and then you really need to put it away and do some repairs that do make sense. You know, when you can, you know, do some board repair that you can get done in 15 or 20 minutes, that makes a lot more sense than spending hours and hours. You know, initially this was cool to sort of be able to restore these phones. If there's data on the phones, it definitely makes sense. But just to kind of bring back a 5S that somebody messed up, you know, it's really not worth it. All right, so we will check back in later. I need both of my eyes and my light. And keep on keeping on. All right, I think this is worth a try. This one was intact. This one was intact. This one is definitely good. This one's definitely good. This one's definitely good. This one, there's a little bit of flux there, but I think that it's, you know, I can move it and the whole thing moves. That one, I just sort of went over and I think that's okay, and I think that that one was always okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 7 traces. So let's clean it up very, very gently, and then we'll test it. And then ultimately, this needs to get some kind of a like a solder mask. It's good. All right, that's good. All right, let's test it. Oh. All right, so we've been working on this for over an hour. Super tedious, super tiny, super concentration, super patience. You know, and it's just one of those things that's really frustrating. And you know, the not a lot of people want to do more than one of them. That's for sure. But I kind of, I don't know. I like the blue screen of death. It's a challenge every time. You can get better at it. This one was pretty bad because it had 5 traces torn. A lot of them only have 1 or 2. And if you kind of keep them really small and don't expose a whole lot of it, then you can get a couple jumpers on there without it turning into a large exposed thin traces kind of hanging out in the air. But I like this repair. There's a lot of folks in this world that are struggling with things that are a lot more frustrating that they can't overcome, and they're sort of forced to be extremely patient all the time. I remember Aunt Liz was, 90 years old, and all she wanted to do was live to be 100. And she was this like witty and funny old lady, and she was just saying that the worst part of being old is just having to wait, being helpless, just sort of waiting for people to, drive you over there or come take you here, and she was just sitting there waiting for, her daughter to say goodbye to everybody at this party, and she didn't have any choice, just sit there and wait. So I think sort of the blue screen of death is just a frustrating exercise in patience, and I like it. It kind of reminds you that something as dumb as an iPhone, dumb, who cares, is can really kind of teach you how to have some patience for an hour. That's not a huge challenge compared to what some folks have to deal with. Okay. let's show you guys what it looks like. You know, you kind of get obsessed on this view here for a long time. Oh, I know, the card is full. That's what it looks like when complete. So those nice traces. And what I think is cool is, you know, you're staring at this like super zoomed in view. God damn it. I know the card is full and you're mad. You don't want to take any video for no reason. I know you don't like the resolution. So you're watching this for a long time, and then it's fun to kind of zoom back out and see how tiny this really is. You know, you can't even see the traces. Really tiny. And then if you look at it here, you know, my God, you can't see that. That's seriously small. We've been looking inside that little circle this entire time. Okay, so let's, I mean, it's still going to boot to recovery mode. We're going to have to restore. And it is 4 in the morning, and I'm not going to call up this customer to ask for permission to restore. So we're going to have to put this on pause and come back in the morning and see what happens. I predict it'll still boot to recovery mode. Yeah, it still boots to recovery mode. So we need to restore, but I think this phone is going to be fine. It obviously had trace damage. That's probably going to be the explanation for its blue screen problem. The recovery mode is probably something that happened when someone tried to restore, and now it's a failed restore. So we're not going to be able to do that until we get permission from that customer to restore, unless it says it in his note. Let's read his note. Okay, so it's the next day, and I got permission from the customer to restore this phone. So I just plugged it into iTunes and clicked through the restore wizard, and now the phone, it did complete its restore, and it's ready to be set up as a new phone. So this is that same phone. This is the conclusion of the world's lamest blue screen of death video. You can see the final product here. I put a conformal coating on top of the area, so you can't really see the traces anymore. They're protected from each other, and they're protected just from any kind of movement by this sticky coating that is similar to the solder mask that'll resist solder. And that's it. This phone is going to get put back together, and we need to get some customer information to go ahead and test it. But in my experience, it'll be fine. Once it comes back on, then everything usually works. So I'll be sure to test the front camera, proximity, and Wi-Fi functions. We can test Wi-Fi right now. My password is underdog, in case you need some free Wi-Fi. Oh good, they took it off of iCloud. I don't have the home button plugged in, so we can't set up Touch ID right now. The Touch ID is not part of the blue screen problem or any of the traces that go through there. So here's a tip. When you need to test a proximity function, you can make a short recording using the microphone feature. This is a good way to test the microphone, and then you can test the ear speaker and also the loudspeaker with this voice memo. And then when you play back, short recording, it plays back through the loudspeaker, and then you can switch it over to the ear speaker. Make sure you can hear it. Here's another tip. When you have a new screen, if your ear speaker is covered up, then you won't be able to hear it. So I can hear that fine through the ear speaker, and the proximity function is working as well. All right, let's check the front camera, rear camera, front camera, and this phone's going to be good to go. We'll put it back together, check everything out, and this is going to be a successful case of restoring a blue screen of death due to trace damage.